Hello, Leo, and welcome to this, your mid to late March reading. Just making a couple of last minute adjustments here. Let me first say my camera may go in and out. I've been having a couple of issues. I do apologize. Just bear with me. I don't do editing on my videos. What you see is what you get. All right. So for those of you who are new here, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. To those of you who are returning. See, there we go. There's the camera. Told you that was going to happen. Okay. To those of you who are new here, you are very welcome here. And to those of you who are returning, thank you again for continuing to support my channel. Okay, Leo, there are a lot of you out there. This reading is a general reading intended for anybody born under the sign of Leo, as well as for anybody who has a significant amount of Leo in their charts. The intended timing for this reading is for mid to late March. However, as we all know, when we're dealing with the ethereal realm, sometimes timelines don't quite add up, but just trust that, even if some of the predictions that come up in this video don't happen by exactly March 31st, those energies are still out there floating around. Okay, so they're still out there as possibilities. The other thing I want to point out is that you have free will. And so that anything that you see in this video that you may be taking as specific advice for you. Keep in mind, this reading is general for all of the Leos out there. And therefore, I ask you to tap into your own heart deeply if you have an important decision to make, and make that decision based on what's in your own heart center. So without any further ado, Leo, let's get started. I'm going to be pulling 6 cards. Okay, that's kind of a lie. I'm going to be pulling cards for 6 different areas. We're going to look at where you are now. We're going to look at what you are focusing on. We're going to look at some difficult influences. We're going to look at a card that just makes sense. We're going to look at unexpected influences, and we're going to look at an outcome. This is 6 different areas. It's intended to be 6 cards. However, some of the cards, particularly this deck, the fairy deck, they get a little overactive sometimes, and more than one card will jump out. So one final note, actually 2 final notes. Sorry, my cat's over here making a mess. 2 final notes. First of all, I deal with a number of different both tarot and oracle card decks. I don't just pull cards from one single deck. I find that it resonates better for people when I'm jumping around and using different decks, because even though a card from this deck may have a similar meaning to a card in this deck, for certain people, those cards resonate. The pictures on those cards resonate differently. And the other thing is that I leave all of the cards face down until I'm actually ready to read them for you, Leo. And that way I'm able to pick up intuitive and psychic insights for you without actually having seen the next card that's going to be turned over. All right, so let's get started. We're going to pull all of your cards first, and then we'll turn them over and reveal them one by one. The first area that we are going to look at for you, Leo, is where you're at now, right here in the middle of March. Where are you at now? I am getting called strongly towards the Sacred Traveler. All of the decks have been cleansed and cleared for you, Leo. So let's have a card, maybe 2 cards for where the Leos are at now. Mid-March 2023. Leo now. Yeah, this deck does this to me quite often, where it calls out and says, yep, I've got the right card for you. And then it decides not to talk. All right, we do have 1 card. Right, perfect. Okay, the next card that we are going to pull is, we're going to have a look, Leo, at what you are focusing on for mid-March. I'm getting called over here to the Osho Zen. That one's on the floor. All right, Leo, What is Leo focusing on? Is there anything else that Leo needs to know? What is Leo focusing on? Okay, so we do have 2 cards. Nope. Wow. Excuse me while I pick up your card off the floor. Okay, we do have 3 cards there for what you're focusing on, Leo. We're not going to look at them yet. Let's have a look at what your difficult influences are for mid-March. These are interesting cards that have been coming out. Like I said, the fairies have been a little mischievous lately. For one of the readings, I actually had over 20 cards come out, and I just had to narrow it down. Okay. How many cards did we have that came out here? All right, we've got a couple of cards that have come out in reverse, a couple of cards right side up. So 4 cards in total in your difficult influences here, Leo. It's going to be an interesting reading. Let's have a look at This Makes Sense. I'm getting called over here to the messages from the Spirits of Nature Oracle card deck. What makes sense for Leo mid to late March 2023? No, no card yet. Okay, we've got one. Is there anything else that Leo has that makes sense mid to late March? Anything else? No. All right. Let's have a look at your unexpected insights and influences. Unexpected insights and influences. We're going over here to the angels and ancestors. Unexpected influences and insights for Leo mid-March. We're going to play this game again. Another full deck, maybe. Okay. I've got a card for you. All right, and the final batch of cards or card that we're going to pull is the general overall outcome for you, Leo, for the end of March. Really, the intention of this card is where you're kind of projected to be at come the end of March and moving into early April. Where am I being called? Which deck? Yeah, I'm being called over here to the Osho Zen. And the general overall outcome. Wow. Wow. These cards actually flipped over, so I am getting a slight peek at them, Leo. Really, really powerful cards. This is going to be a powerful reading for you, Leo. Okay. So I'm going to actually turn these cards over in the order in which they came up. And let's have a look at your very first card. Oh, wow. You've got the Wise Leader. Leo, you are the 3rd sign this month to have the Wise Leader come up in the placement of where you are at now. This is telling me that this is a dominant energy for many, many people on the planet at this time, where they're stepping up and stepping into the role of being that leader or that mentor for both their own smaller community, being their family, but also out into the greater community. And there is this need for people to be stepping up and stepping into the role of mentors. Our planet has been very much lacking in people who are willing to step up and step outside of the comfort zone. I don't know why this is coming up right now. For those of you who are Leos, born under the sign of Leo and watching this, but have perhaps some of the other signs dominant in your charts, if you do choose to watch some of these other videos, you're going to see this card come up. It's coming up time and time again. This story is coming up. I'm going to just really briefly tell you. At one time, shortly after my son was born, I decided I wanted to go into teaching. I thought, what a great career. Then I can have the same days off that my son is going to be out of school. Perfect. And so on and so forth. Plus, over the years, I've been told you'd make a great teacher. When you learn something, you have a way of being able to express it beautifully, and so on. So I applied to go to Teachers College, Leo. And when I went in front of the panel of 5 professionals sitting at the front for my interview, I didn't, my application made it far enough that I got to the interview process at the university level. And when I went in there, when I was getting ready to leave at the end of my interview, I was told that I would not be accepted as a teacher. I asked why. They said, we're looking for people who are willing to come into the system and abide by the system, not those people who are going to be rebellious and step outside of our boundaries. You fall into the category where you might shuffle things up a little bit. What? You mean you don't want innovators in the system? Anyway, because of that attitude in our educational system over the last probably 50 or 60 years, we are very, very much lacking in people willing to step into this role, Leo. Now, Leo the lion, the brave lion, you are being asked to step into this role as the wise leader right now, into the role of the mentor. Not always an easy role to step into, because it does mean thinking outside the box and stepping outside those boundaries. So congratulations, Leo. Great start to your reading. Let's have a look at what you are focusing on right now. Okay. Some of what you are focusing on right now is your own exhaustion. This is understandable. This is the equivalent to the 9 of Wands in the traditional tarot, and it represents exhaustion. It represents a little bit of burnout. Not surprising if you are stepping into this role of being the beacon for others and being the mentor and wise leader for others. If you're not quite prepared, not quite ready to fully step into and embrace that role, it stands to reason that there is some exhaustion bubbling and brewing below the surface for you. Okay, you do have 2 more cards in your focus. One of them is the conditioning card. This card corresponds to the number 15 card in the traditional tarot in the major arcana. Number 15 card, that's the devil card. So what are we focusing on right now, Leo? Okay, let me get into this. Now, Leo, you again are not the first sign to have the devil card come up in your focus for the last half of March 2023. It's absolutely fascinating to me. Now, it was a different devil card from a different deck. In fact, I believe it was from the fairy deck that came up in someone else's reading, one of the other zodiac signs readings, and I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was. But the fact of the matter remains, it's the same meaning. It's about your conditioning. Excuse me. It's about your conditioning. So we each have this little devil and this little angel that sits on our shoulders, Leo. And the little devil tells us to do something. We perceive what the devil is telling us to do as being bad. Little angel tells us to do something. We perceive what the little angel is telling us to do as being good. But where did that belief system come from? To know or to believe that this one's bad and this one's good. Where did that come from? That's what the devil asks us to explore and look into. Okay. Now, the devil does have an element of karma always involved. So that is an aspect that you need to be looking at right now, Leo, here mid-March to late March. You do need to be exploring karma in your own life. Are you creating good karma or bad karma? Oh, wait. There we go with the good and the bad again. This is the devil. This is the division that the devil causes. Okay, that's where we get the karma. That's where we get the good and the bad. But the conditioning that the devil asks us to look at is, why do we believe something is bad? Why do we believe something is good? This is what you will be questioning, Leo, for mid to late March. This is what you're looking into. This is what you're exploring. And honestly, that kind of digging deep, that kind of healing, It can create this sense of exhaustion, especially if you're doing that kind of healing for the purposes of stepping into this role of the wise leader. We're going to also look at your very final card in your focus. Interestingly, it is the Queen of Wands. It's interesting that you got 2 Wands cards. Okay, both of them have the red on them. They represent the element of fire. The element of fire represents action. It means that you need to be taking action. If you want to get out of this exhaustion, you need to be taking action. You're also being encouraged to share. This is the equivalent, like I said, of the Queen of Wands, sharing. She shares with unlimited abandon. That's great. Step into the role, share your knowledge, Leo. All right. We have, okay. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? Interesting. Okay. We have one card from the major arcana already appearing here. In your challenges or your difficult influences, you have 3 more cards from the major arcana, Leo. This is a really, really powerful reading. Okay, so in your difficult influences, you have the 10 of Winter, also known as the 10 of Swords. This card is about a resolution of difficulties, a weight being lifted off your shoulder. Guess what? It's in your difficult influences, so it's actually being read as if it's an opposite, which means that you are still going to be facing some difficulties going through mid to late March. What I'm picking up for you intuitively is this is a path that you need to walk in order to be able to grow. Again, you need to deeply explore this conditioning that you've received over time. Where did your conditioning come from? Did it come from family? Did it come from religious institutions, from educational institutions? Where did your teachings come from? You need to explore that really deeply and then go deep within your own heart and decide what resonates for you, not what resonated when you were 5 years old and being taught these things, not what resonated when you were 12 or 13 and being taught these things. Okay, what resonates for you today as an adult sitting here watching this video? That's the important work that you're doing. And this 10 of Winter is indicating that you still have a few hiccups coming along. You also have the number 12, the awakening card in your difficult influences. This card is the equivalent to the Hanged Man in the traditional tarot. Why is this card important in your difficult influences? Because normally this card asks you to hang upside down, to see things from a different perspective. This card is indicating that you are struggling with being able to see things from a different perspective, moving into the mid to late March, into the end of March, which means that once you're able to finally turn this around and see things from the different perspective, when you grow into your heart and see things, really act upon things that resonate with you rather than things that you were conditioned to act upon, the Hanged Man becomes very relevant, right? When we can see things from somebody else's perspective, we can bring in teaching, we can bring in learning, and most importantly, we can bring in compassion. You also have the Chariot in your difficult influences. Chariot normally in a regular position in a reading signifies that something is coming towards you, a manifestation is coming towards you, and it's coming towards you quickly, and it's going to be great. When it's in the difficult influences, it indicates that things are a little bit stagnant for you right now. This card makes sense because you do have this exhaustion card, so there is a little bit of stagnation there. And the final card that you have, again, is the Sun. This is the 19 card in the traditional tarot. This card normally indicates that things are working out properly. In your difficult influences, again, it corresponds to the 10 of Winter, where there's going to be some hiccups in whatever plans you're making. Based on this, Leo, I would, okay, like I said at the beginning, general reading for everyone. It's going to resonate with some people, but my general recommendation is that from mid to late March, based on these 2 cards being in your difficult influences, you're probably ill-advised right now to be entering into any really important contracts, like a new lease, a business contract, any kind of new agreement to make a big purchase. Those types of things, I would see if there's any way that you can postpone those things until after the end of March, because these cards are indicating that there are some difficulties in whatever plans you are making. We're going to turn over This Makes Sense, right? This Makes Sense card, you have the Sage, which is a purification card. This makes sense because you are in this stage of healing and growing. You're stepping up into the role of the wise leader, stepping into the role as the mentor. You are going through huge changes and shifts with this Devil and Conditioning card here. And you're being advised that making really important decisions right now is not in your best interest. If you're not able to see things from a different perspective and see things from somebody else's perspective right now, it's not a great time to be making huge life-changing decisions. You're at a stage where you're purifying your soul. You're purifying who you are. So this card makes a lot of sense. Let's have a look at unexpected influences. Okay, unexpected influences and insights right now. You've got Mother Earth. Feel love and comforted. As you go through this, okay, this is a really, really strong way of putting things. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. I was at a conference last week and somebody showed up at the conference with something. And the vast majority of us that attended the conference ended up coming down with it. So excuse the voice and coughing. Okay, moving on. When we are going through what can look like and feel like a spiritual awakening, when we're going through a huge shift in our belief systems, when we begin to question everything, we begin to feel like we're unlovable because our friends and our family begin to change and shift. When we change, the energies and the people around us change. So one of your unexpected insights from this is the big reminder that you are loved and you are supported, Leo. Through this process is happening because it's meant to happen. It's meant to happen now. The timing is right for it. So just remember that you are loved. Let's look at your final outcome. Oh, are you kidding me? Your final outcome, you have 3 more major arcana cards. Okay. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay. In the tarot, there are a total of 22 major arcana cards out of 78 cards. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of 22 major arcana cards. What are the chances, considering there's 78 cards in a tarot deck, not to mention the fact that I'm using numerous decks here? What are the chances of you getting them? And none of them are the same. Oh, no, one of them is the same. One of them is the same. You have New Vision represented on the Osho Zen card, and it corresponds to this Awakening or Hanged Man card, right? And again, this is about seeing things from a different perspective. And this is what you have in your final outcome. It's interesting that you have the Hanged Man or the Awakening card, the number 12 card, showing up in your difficult influences, Leo. But as I mentioned, these final cards that I pulled are for the intended timing, the end of March, early April, and you have the same card appearing here. So the same energy coming up, but this time it's in the positive position. And so this is indicating that by the end of the month, you will have worked through the vast majority of what came up for you in your difficult influences. And once you've worked through that, I mean, the new vision, the beautiful way of being able to see things from a different perspective, it's just going to explode. Now, here we go. Let's read these cards in the order in which they came up. The very first card that you got is the Rebel card. It's the number 4 card in the traditional tarot of the major arcana. This card is indicating you're being a little bit of a rebel. Understandably, as you change and shift, and as you are no longer in alignment with the big institutions that are out there that have told you how to live, what is right, what is wrong. Those big institutions have conditioned you into certain beliefs. As you begin to explore these beliefs, you do step into the role of being the rebel, and you step outside of the box. That's coming for you end of March. As you do so, of course, you have this new vision card. You are stepping into that new role. You're seeing things from a different perspective. You're no longer seeing things the way that you thought they were. When that happens, you will experience transformation. This is the card that is numbered 13 from the major arcana. This is the Death card. Okay. One of the reasons that I choose to use the Osho Zen Tarot is because when a death card comes up in the traditional tarot, a lot of people go, death, and they think of mortality. That is not what the death card represents. The death card represents more in alignment with transformation. In order for you to transform and step into this new role that's intended for you, Leo, there is the old part of you needs to die so that you can step into this new transformation. That's essentially, there goes the camera again. All right, we'll wait for the camera to reset. Come on, camera. Come on. There we go. Get angry at the camera and it works every time, right? Okay. When we're going through a major transformation, in the traditional tarot, it's viewed as a little death, right? Any way you slice it, transformation is transformation, and it's actually a good thing. Can it be uncomfortable? Yes, Leo, it can be. But if you know it's coming, if you are in acceptance of it, if you are a willing participant, recognizing that what is happening for a really, really positive reason. You know, that the saying comes up, when one door closes, another one opens. And that's what's happening in your life right now, Leo. And it's actually a really good thing. The final card in your reading is another wand card. It is the Knight of Wands, and it reminds you that through this process, be playful. The image that just came to mind as I was saying that for you, Leo, is think of yourself more as the playful kitten rather than the adult lion that has to sit there and be staunch and very, very professional. And, you know, we see pictures of the majestic lion and his mane sitting there and kind of ruling over his kingdom, okay? That image, there goes the camera again. I'm just going to carry on. That image of that very proud lion sitting at the top of the hill, ruling over top of his pride, doesn't really serve this change and this shift that you're going through, Leo. What does serve your change and your shift is being like the playful kittens that we sometimes see in pictures, you know, the playful little kittens rolling around and playing and chasing each other. Remember to be playful during this change and shift that you are going through, Leo, because it's amazingly powerful. I do apologize for my camera going in and out and for coughing at all of you. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you being here. I'm going to sign out. I hoped that this resonated, and I hope to see you again next month.